Hello, folks. In this video, I wanted to talk about how probably everything is a demand supply problem, right? Let's say you want to find a job. The demand is basically you want a job. The supply is basically someone giving you a job. Let's say an employer giving you a job, right? For the employer, it's kind of like similar. Like they have a demand. They need someone to do their job, to do their work. So that's a demand for them, and the supply is basically you, right? Though it will sound very rude for some people, it may not. For many, it will sound very rude because you're not some resource, but that's how you see at an operational level, right? You have demand, you have supply, you have resources. You supply the resources for the demand, right? You have demand for resource or people or something, right? For the company, for some employer, they need to get some work done. They need people, or they need machines or whatever. Right? They need people. Let's say they put out a job description out there. They put out a role out there. They say that they're hiring, and then the supply is basically the people, right? So I think the whole world it has a lot of demand supply problems where there's a demand or there is needs, requirements, desires or wants, and then supply where someone is satisfying those needs, requirements, demands, desires, wants, and all that, right? And either you have a demand or you're trying to supply, or you are actually trying to connect the demanders and suppliers, right? Like you're being the broker. So let's look at some examples, right? So one is the employee employer. Employee wants a job, demand. Employer can give the job, supply. Employer wants someone to do work, right? Wants an employee. Employee can go and join the like, and so basically employer has a demand. They want an employee, and employee can actually go and supply themselves and do the job, right? Though it may not be as simple as that, like, I want a job, I will do any job. No, right? Like you will have requirements, desires, demands, needs, wants, and all that, right? Like I want my job to pay this much, I want my job to be in this location, I want my job to be remote and whatnot, right? Then in that case, well, accordingly, you have to find an employer. So same for employers, right? They want someone who is honest, they someone who has integrity, someone who doesn't ask too much pay, someone who listens to them and is loyal to them and whatnot, right? So that is that. One moment. Oh my god, I think I got too many parathas. Is it? Right. Okay, I'm just eating food, so yeah. Um. So basically, just a moment. Basically, let's say, employers also have demands. Companies have demands, right? Like the employee has to be like this, like that. They have to be willing to work this many hours and whatnot. So they also have demands, right? And sometimes it's hard to find people with your demands, like employees might find it hard to find a job, find an employer that suits them and whatnot. Employers might find it hard to find a employee that suits them and whatnot. And that's where people who are brokerage, people who come in between, who are like, I will find out people for you. So brokerage for the demanders or the suppliers or both, right? For example, in the case of jobs, it's recruiters, right? So there are a lot of recruiters who are employee specific and who try to help the employees find a good job, a job that suits them, or they are employer specific. They find good employees that suit the job that the employer is trying to put out there, right? Or they do both. They ensure that the employee and the employer are happy, and it's both employer and employee centric, right? So recruiters do that. Either there are outsourced recruiters, recruiting services out there, or employees can hire recruiters for themselves, say personal recruiter or whatever, pay them and whatnot, or so employees can do that, or employers can do that. Like employers can have their own recruiters who work in that company, right? So yeah, so in the case of jobs, this is like the case, right? Employees and then employers and then recruiters. That's how the demand, supply, and then broker works, right? So let's look at other cases, right? Friends. So you have a demand for friends, like you want to find friends. How do you find friends? Well, you want a friend who is nice, who is caring and whatnot. There's someone else also who wants a nice, caring friend. How do you find friends? Like probably through friends of friends or through social media. So social media is the broker there, or all these apps out there that help you find people with similar interests, that help you find people who are looking for friends. Probably swipe right, swipe left, and whatnot. And so demand is friends, supply is friends, and like you are looking for a friend, and then someone is also looking for a friend and is willing to supply themselves as a friend. It's weird to say supply demand like that, but then at the core, if you think about it, it's like that. And then there's a brokerage or broker something or person or whatever, right? App or whatever, right? So in the case of friends, it can be social media, it can be friends again in between brokers who are actually connecting friends or colleagues or whatever, right? Or social media, or all these apps and whatnot, right? On the internet. And then so that is with friends. And then there are people who are looking to date or find casual relationships. So there is dating apps and whatnot. There are dating apps for this. So dating apps are the broker for people who are trying to find a partner, long term or short term or whatever, right? Or casual partner, whatever, right? So you are looking for a partner, someone is willing to put themselves out as a partner, and also they are also looking for a partner, right? Extend this a bit more, you can find people who are looking for spouses. So there is this whole idea of like arranged marriage in India. There are matrimonial websites that help people find their spouses, their husbands, wives, and whatnot. They put out their information. They have a demand that they want to find that spouse, and they also supply themselves as a spouse. And there are other people, and then the brokerage is, or the broker is the matrimonial website or matrimonial apps and whatnot. Or there are people who do this work, services similar to recruiters. There are people who find matches, who do matchmaking, right? So if you think about it, everything becomes a kind of like a demand supply problem and then matchmaking problem, where you're trying to connect people, sets of people or two different people or whatever, or you're trying to connect people and things or whatever, anything, right? Or services, right? For example, you want food, and then you want food, that's the demand, and there are services and people out there who can provide food, cooks or chefs or say restaurants. And how do you discover each other? There are apps, there are broker platforms and whatnot, like food delivery apps and whatnot, that match you, and like you can actually find people or restaurants or whatever that deliver food or provide food, right? So, or similar services, you are looking for massage demand, massage service or salon service or spa service, and then there are companies and services and people who provide that, right? And then there are brokers, apps, websites that provide you a platform to find such services, right? And the services are also connected to people who are looking for such a service, right? So If you think about it, everything can be kind of formed as a demand supply problem. You're looking for a ride, a cab, a taxi, and there are taxi drivers, there are cab drivers who are trying to provide a ride, supply the ride, and there are ride delivery apps, ride apps, ride hailing apps or whatever, and there are ride sharing apps and whatnot. You want to share a ride, someone wants to provide a shared ride. All of it again demand supply problem. You have broker platform and it just works. So yeah, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of problems is this demand supply problem, and there's also a broker in the case. So there's a demander, there's a supplier. Most probably there's a broker to trying to connect the demanders and suppliers, trying to help them discover each other and find the right match. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. It was just an interesting thing. That's all I had for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.